Guys, let's talk about Gravity Falls Season 2 Episode 10, another Pacifica episode. Yeah, I wasn't super thrilled about the Gulf Wars episode. I thought it had a lot of problems, a lot of things bogging down the story. But the stuff with Pacifica herself, I really enjoyed. So when I saw that this episode was going to be about Pacifica and Pacifica's terrible, terrible family, I actually got kind of excited. I made a big joke out of her character early on in my reviews of this show, but she's really grown on me. And I kind of get the sense, based on the way that this episode ended, that things are about to start going down, which makes me doubt that we're going to get many more Pacifica episodes, if we get any more at all, and that honestly kind of bums me out. Though I will mention right out the gate that this episode was fighting an uphill battle to impress me. It started out seeming like it was going to be one of those trapped in a mansion murder mystery type things, but ideally without the murder because it's a kid's show. And then it turned into a ghost story instead, and that kind of bummed me out because the whole mystery mansion thing is such a staple of the mystery and suspense genre that it has kind of defined an entire aspect of the genre. I was really looking forward to seeing how the Gravity Falls crew would handle a story like that, how they would filter it through their own storytelling formula, but instead we just got a ghost story, and I think a pretty generic one, really. Just like the Lilliputians in Gulf Wars, I found the antagonist in this episode, the Ghost, to be a very forgettable villain. The episode was about a haunting at the Northwest Mansion, threatening their annual party for only rich people. Recognizing that Dipper has battled supernatural forces in the town before, Pacifica's parents send her to enlist his help in dealing with this ghost problem. There is a bit of a mystery, but it's more a mystery for the viewers. The characters don't really solve anything. The ghost just kind of ends up telling Dipper the entire story with very little prompting. Instead, this story mainly acts as a vessel for Dipper and Pacifica to bond, and Dipper to start to think a little bit better of Pacifica, only for them to have a classic misunderstanding and then realize that their misunderstanding was all a misunderstanding and then become friends again at the end. It was basically a romantic comedy plot, but without the romance. Arguably. We'll get to that in a minute. This ghost, Pacifica's parents knew that it was coming. It was coming for vengeance for some horrible thing that her family did in the long list of horrible things that they'd done. Just like the antagonist is a stock antagonist, the story was kind of a stock story. Horrible things were done to this guy. He died and he cursed the family. And Pacifica, as the only Northwest who's kind of different, who actually seems to genuinely care about people, she's the one to fix it. She's the one to break the curse. The ghost doesn't actually kill anybody. He just turns them into trees, which should kill them, but doesn't, I guess. It was okay, but it felt so much more absurd than a lot of the stories we've gotten in this show. Which is funny because it wasn't. It's just that, just like in Gulf Wars, the supernatural element of the story just felt a little out of place, especially compared to the supernatural elements in other episodes of the show. This is another circumstance where I feel like removing the supernatural element from the story and allowing the story to grow to fill up the entire 22-minute runtime would have actually benefited the story a lot. But I understand why they couldn't do that. There are times throughout the episode when Pacifica's dad tells her to do something and she seems resistant, so he rings this bell and she becomes immediately compelled to follow his instructions. That's abuse, kiddies. It's horrifying, and just implying it in a kid's show is pretty freaking heavy. I understand they didn't want to do more than imply it. They wanted it to be one of those things that fans could come back and watch the episode and pick up on it when they're older, but that kids wouldn't really question it because, holy crap, is that a heavy topic for young kids? It may be the scariest thing that's been in this show ever, and it had a giant spider candy monster thing. And whatever the hell Bill Cipher is. He's pretty scary too. But I do like that Pacifica has now defied her parents. Nothing horrible seems to have happened to her as a result, so it looks like maybe she's going to be able to start taking charge of her life a little bit. Maybe turn the family around, because man, they've done some terrible stuff. We get to see little tiny glimpses of some of the terrible stuff they've done in this episode. And man, were her ancestors bad people. In the end, even though I feel like the story of this episode could have been a lot better, and I feel like the supernatural element in this episode could have been a lot better, I was still very happy to get more character development for Pacifica. And am I the only one who kind of ships her and Dipper now? What am I saying? Of course I'm not. This is a show that exists in the age of the internet. There are probably people who ship Dipper with Waddles. So of course there are people who ship him with Pacifica. I actually kind of feel like that was the strongest part of this episode. It wasn't focused on much, it wasn't given a lot of time, but the rapport that built very quickly between Dipper and Pacifica felt very real, and I found it genuinely compelling. And it kind of makes me wonder, if the show had gone on for an additional season, would we have seen them maybe getting together, trying dating or something? I don't know, maybe we do. Maybe it's in one of the final episodes of season 2, but I really doubt it. They don't seem to be there quite yet. The most compelling thing about this episode, though, was the end. At the very end, they laid on some heavy foreshadowing for, at the very least, the next episode, but probably more than just the next episode based on how important they made it seem. McGucket has repaired the laptop and is now counting down to what he claims is the apocalypse. They've got about 21 hours. And on top of that, the government agents from back in Skarioki are back. Things are converging, and I'm very excited to see what's going to happen when the shit hits the fan. Overall, not the greatest episode of this show, but one I still enjoyed watching quite a lot. While there were things I didn't like, there were things that I could pick out that I really liked a lot, and I'm really looking forward to the next one. In fact, I am going to be trying to do a live reaction to the next one. Somebody asked me to do it. I think they just wanted me to record my live reaction, and that may end up being what I do. But I'm actually going to try for a live stream sometime, maybe Sunday. I'll let you guys know for sure on social media what's going to happen. But one way or another, because it was a special request and because apparently the next episode is a really big deal, I am going to record my live reaction to it. This once. This is not going to become a regular thing, because it's going to be really boring and you're all going to hate it, I promise. I'm really not that expressive a person except in these reviews. And of course, as per usual, I'd like to ask guys, what did you think of this episode if you have seen it? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below. Either way, this has been AJ22 and I will talk to you guys later.